So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this EC Council webinar in conjunction with AKTINA, our partner in Cyprus. And today we're going to talk about how to get into cybersecurity and cover off a number of things, all things cybersecurity today as well. My name's Philip Blake. I'm the Regional Director for Europe for EC Council, and I will be taking you through a couple of things today. So just to give you a quick agenda, so I'm going to take about half an hour, 35 minutes to run through today's webinar. I'll give you a quick introduction to who we are, touch on the likes of the cybersecurity threat landscape. I want to demo to you our lab environment. So I'll just be quickly running through one of the certified ethical lab demonstrations, which is our one of our the phishing lab in our certified ethical hacking course. I'll showcase the EC Council tracks. So as I'm sure a number of you are aware, there are a number of disciplines within cybersecurity, whether it be ethical hacking, network defense, penetration testing, forensics, threat intelligence. You name it, there's so many different pathways. And there I'll be focusing on the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing track, but ultimately there are a number of pathways within cybersecurity that you can take. And we'll also then be looking at who's looking for cybersecurity professionals and why cybersecurity is quite is a good industry to get into, especially at the moment. And we'll do a Q&A session at the end, and I believe Stratos will be joining me for that. Just going to have we just got a quick question, so just bear with me. Let me have a quick look at that. Someone doesn't have any sound. Is everyone hearing me loud and clear? Maybe Stratos, you can ping me a quick chat message if you can hear me. You can hear me clearly. Okay, that's good. Well, I think by the sounds, I think the general consensus is that everyone can hear me. So I think I'll carry on. To the individual who doesn't have any sound, hopefully your sound issues are resolved, or maybe you'll have to sort of jump off the webinar and jump back in. But okay, so without any further ado, we'll just dive into the webinar. So a quick look at EC Council, or a little bit about EC Council. So globally, we are one of the largest cybersecurity training and certification bodies. We've trained over 200,000 members. I actually think that figure needs to be revised. Over 250,000 certified members now. We work with a number of agencies across the world, government, law enforcement, military, and sort of a whole host of others, including a number of Fortune 500 companies. We work with lots of universities, as well as the governments and industry partners. And ultimately, our end goal is to ensure that we are upskilling the cybersecurity community to be able to deal with the ever increasing and the ever advancing threats that there are. So I just check that. Okay, perfect. It seems that everyone now has sound, so this is fantastic news. Sorry, slides are advancing. It should be now. Hopefully, you can all see that. So, yes, as mentioned, we deal with a number of organisations, both military, industry, and academic across the world, and our end goal is ultimately to ensure that we further enhance the abilities of cybersecurity professionals to deal with the ever-growing cybersecurity threat. And that brings us on to the threat landscape. Now, what does that threat landscape look like, and what are we being faced with? So over the last few years, cybersecurity has grown in prominence. So in terms of, according to the World Economic Forum, we're seeing the likes of cyber attacks being launched on countries, on networks, and things such as data fraud and theft. infrastructure breakdown and attacks on critical national infrastructure are having huge impacts on countries. And I think I can refer to my own country, which was a victim of one in 2007, where I'm sure a number of you have heard of our National Health Service in the UK. About 50% of our National Health Service was reduced to pen and paper, which is obviously in this day and age is terrible, considering that service is giving medical health care to millions of people. But ultimately, cyber attacks and cyber security threats are being seen on a level of natural disasters, which has seen unprecedented growth over the last few years. And so, yeah, cybersecurity and cyber attacks, something which didn't even feature in as threats in the World Economic Forum 10 years ago, where now the likelihood and the risk of those particular attacks and their impact on society has gone through the roof. And ultimately, the cost of cybercrime over the next 5 years is expected to be around $10 trillion US, which is the size of a number of, well, far bigger than a number of economies. So thank you for confirmation that my slides are advancing. I'm just going to quickly launch the lab in the background, so we don't have any downtime. But excuse me, launch, perfect. But also, and there's a number of examples around the world, and today you can't really pick up a newspaper or read the news without seeing some way, shape, or form of cyber attack. And I'm sure you've had the similar incidents in Cyprus, that even there are hackers don't necessarily have any shame. They are leveraging this global pandemic, and I've got a couple of screenshots of the phishing emails, etc., which have gone out on that. But there is no boundaries in that cyberspace to what they will do. Now, I use two examples when talking about the threat landscape. The one is also that top right example of the Bank of Bangladesh heist. Ultimately, hackers were trying to steal just under $1 billion worth of cash from the Bank of Bangladesh. Now, they managed to get away with about 101 million, and of that 101 million, about 18 million of that isn't recovered. So your richest criminals aren't necessarily your Pablo Escobars, who've managed to ship thousands of tons of cocaine around the world. It is your cyber criminals who managed to infiltrate systems and steal large sums of money from banks. Now, in this particular instance, banks, a lot of large organizations have insurance policies. Banks tend to have large war chests which they can fall back on. They have the money to spare. But what about a smaller, sort of medium-sized organization? And ultimately, the monetary side of loss is one thing, but there can be far greater risks when it comes to cyber attacks. And that brings me on to the second example of the Ashley Madison data breach. Now, I'm sure a number of you heard about this breach. Hopefully, none of you were caught up in this breach. But for those of you who are unaware of what Ashley Madison was, it was a extramarital dating website which helped individuals cheat on their respective husbands or wives. Now, what happened with Ashley Madison? Their entire database was stolen. It was leaked on the internet, and obviously you can imagine the effects that had on the particular individuals. Now, included in that database were individuals who are utilizing the Department of Defense email addresses, which inadvertently ruined their careers. There are individuals who were utilizing Saudi Arabian domain names. So, as I'm sure some of you know, that the punishment for adultery in Saudi Arabia is punishment by death. And also a couple of, if you think about the sort of wider ramifications, Ashley Madison as a company completely collapsed. But if you think about what else happened, so it's fine. Financially, the company lost out. Fine. From a moral perspective, some may say they deserved it. But what about the wider reach of what happened? Divorce, the cost of divorce lawyers. There were more than a few suicides which were attributed to this. The complete breakup of families. Obviously there's what I'm trying to the point that I'm trying to arrive at is that ultimately cyber attacks aren't necessarily just a financial issue. It is a reputational issue. It is a an issue around around sort of a personal issue as well, and how those particular individuals can be looked at. So governments have been focusing more and more on cybersecurity, and I'm sure the Cypriot government is no different. But ultimately, we've got screenshots here from news agencies around the world, NATO, Ministry of Defence in the UK, Singapore, and every government has a cybersecurity plan. Now, within that, training the individuals internally and being able to upskill individuals technically within each country has become something which is so prevalent in across the whole of Europe and across the world. Now, we've just got some examples here from Spain, France, and Netherlands. I can tell you it's the same in Luxembourg, and I can almost guarantee it's the same in Cyprus, where there is a plan to upskill the necessary individuals to be able to secure the country against threats to critical national infrastructure, against threats to individuals. And ultimately, I'm told that a number of the individuals on this call, you're a lot of maybe IT managers, lots of network administrators. You are perfectly positioned to be the individuals on the front line to transition from networking professionals or for IT professionals who have an understanding of coding, who have an understanding of networks. You are perfectly placed to transition into the cybersecurity roles. Now, why is there such a big government focus? So I like to think that the US is probably about 10 years ahead of where we are in Europe. We all know that they have huge government budgets. We all know that they spend more than the next 7 or 8 countries combined in their military budget. And I can tell you, because we work with them directly in the Department of Defense, I can tell you directly that they spend billions on their cyber defenses. Now, there was an article quoting that they were essentially unable, they were not ready for a sustained cyber attack. Where's the proof? Here's a couple of screenshots that we took nearly 2 years ago now. But there on the left, we've got a conversation between hackers on the dark web, just basically saying how easy it is to evade FBI agents. And on the right, we have essentially a database dump of all of the usernames and passwords of FBI emails, and also FBI emails and passwords could have logged in. Now, imagine that going live on the dark web. Imagine the havoc that it caused. If the US government aren't ready for, and then considering they've been pumping millions of dollars or billions of dollars into this, imagine small and medium-sized companies. How can small medium-sized companies be so arrogant? How can smaller governments and even large organizations be so arrogant to think that they aren't necessarily going to be a target, and that they are safe? And if we look at the recent private sector cases, so we know, I'm sure a number of you know about Maersk, Uber, Equifax. These are all very high-profile private sector cases. And if we look at some of the recent cases in Cyprus, and Stratos, thank you very much for sending these over. These are some that you're probably more familiar with. It is rife across every country, across every industry, and ultimately, I believe that individuals on this call could be part of a cure, and part of for the issue of, or part of the solution to securing a nation. Now, in terms of, so we've looked at the private sector, we've looked at the public sector as well, in terms of the governments, but also there is the scale of individual consumer cybercrime. About 41% of online adults have fallen victim to malware, viruses, hacking scams, etc., which is a huge percentage if you think of the billions of individuals that are online. And ultimately, we're posed with a number of challenges across the world. We understand that threat actors are becoming more sophisticated. So we have cyber weapons which have been developed by governments that are actually, those cyber weapons have been stolen and they are available to be deployed from civilian machines or from hackers' machines. Now, something which has been set up or built to exclusively destroy is obviously a very terrifying concept, especially when we're looking at critical national infrastructure. Other elements and challenges. So digital data is becoming more pervasive. I'm sure a number of you are very well versed in the likes of GDPR. I'm not going to bore you too much on that, but we know that data has become ever more important, and certainly security of the data. Corporations are becoming more open, the likes of bring your own device, and ultimately we know that individuals are looking to constantly integrate their platforms, and constantly everything is becoming a lot more complex. And with that additional complexity comes the problem of security for security professionals. And what are the other challenges on the human side? So there's a huge lack of skilled manpower. Cybersecurity talent is very expensive, and ultimately it's very difficult to assess the quality of the particular individual, and ultimately that's where EC Council is doing its work and trying to come in. So I'm just going to move to the demo now. So you'll have to excuse me while I switch screens. Just bear with me. Perfect. The lab has loaded, so you can see. Great. You should all now be able to see my screen, which is good news. So I just want to show you the lab platform. So part of what of EC Council's messaging is that we are trying to deliver hands-on training, and is that hands-on element which is extremely important. Now, having the theoretical knowledge, having the knowledge is obviously very important, but there's three elements. It's the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities. And it's through this iLabs platform that we are looking to that our partners have access to, even in these times. And our iLabs platform has become obviously grown in popularity over the last few weeks and months due to the COVID-19 issue. But ultimately, from the safety of your own home, you're able to run through EC Council's labs. So this particular module is module 9. It's our social engineering module. And so I just want to run you through this. I'm sure all of you on here are reasonably technical. You're very well aware of phishing attacks, and you may even have to mitigate the risks of individuals that you have currently that you're dealing with currently working from home. Ultimately, this is just a sort of just to showcase how easy phishing is, and I'll just quickly run through the lab for you. But ultimately, the idea behind the lab platform is to give you that hands-on ability. You have the instructions, so even if you have no idea what how to run through the lab, it sort of sets out the scenario for you, and it will run through the instructions step by step. I'll turn those off because I don't necessarily need them for this lab. There's also the resources, so you can toggle between the necessary resources. In this particular instance, we'll be using the Windows Server and Kali Linux, which is obviously, as some of you I'm sure will know, a popular penetration testing tool. So without any further delay, we shall dive into that. So we're going to log into Kali Linux, and we're going to launch a phishing attack. So log in, root, tor, which is a bit of a standard Kali Linux login. So I just want to showcase just how easy it is for individuals to launch phishing attacks. Now, I'm sure some of you have come across Kali Linux, some of you may not. But for those of you who do not know, Kali Linux is actually a free tool. So this can be downloaded by cybersecurity professionals. It can be downloaded by hackers. It could be downloaded or used as an operating system by those individuals. It could be used as an operating system by an 11-year-old kid. It really doesn't make any difference and ultimately they make this tool free. So no matter how who the individual is. It could, you don't necessarily know, and you hear about the stories of law enforcement turning up to a random address, a random house, following the IP address, and they work out that it's a curious 10 or 11-year-old who's been launching attacks on things which they don't necessarily understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to conduct a social engineering attack. This is where my home internet connection starts to slow me down. Hopefully it'll speed up. There we go. We're going to do a website attack vector. We're going to do a credential harvester attack, and we're going to do a website cloner number 2. Excellent. And the IP address for the postback, so the IP address of this Kali Linux machine is 10.10.10.11, nice and easy. So we press enter, and then it asks us for the URL that we want to clone. So we have a couple of URLs that EC Council own on this. So we have www.moviescope.com. So that's kind of like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or something like that. And ultimately, the idea is that it's a safe environment and a completely sandboxed environment for you to conduct the various hacking activities in, and conduct the various attack vectors. So we'll copy that. How long do you think it takes to copy a website? All of a few seconds. Now, what the hacker would usually do is they would usually package that up. They would go onto the dark web, purchase a database of emails. Database of millions of emails costs about $5, literally next to nothing. Very cheap for the hacker to do. And what they'll then do, and they can target it. They can try and get a MovieScope database. They can try, or they can just buy a large database and hope and send it out and do it by that sort of trial. Now, they'll package the email out, and we won't do it. We won't sort of do that because that's a little bit more time consuming. But they'll package the email up. They'll make it look very attractive. So some of the ones that they like doing, especially around this time, in the UK, for example, tends to be the end of the tax year. So they like going back to say, oh, you have a tax rebate. Please click on this link to claim. Obviously, in this instance, we're looking to package it up for moviescope.com. So say it's a £10 free voucher, or sorry, €10 free voucher for your next series or your next purchase on the platform. They package it up, make it look as authentic as possible, and then they send it out to their database. Now, the unsuspecting individual receives the email, clicks on the link which says please click here, and then ultimately they get directed to this page. Now, all of the eagle eye of you have noticed that I've just typed in the Kali Linux operating system IP address, and what we'll do is we'll just enter some details. So Philip, and my password is QWERTY123, because it's I'm one of those individuals who use one of the most popular passwords. Login, and obviously you can see that it's gone straight to moviescope.com. Which the individual would think, okay, I'll just log in again. Why didn't that work? But unsuspectingly, they have sent their details to the hacker. And let's use another example, just so we have two in there. Stratos. Stratos' password is password123. Log in again. You see that it's gone straight to moviescope.com. What's happened to that? The individual would probably go. They would log in. They would continue with their everyday, and ultimately, I think they can't find their €10 discount voucher for them, and they think, oh, I'm too busy for this. I'll work it out later. Unbeknown to them, what they have done, unsuspectingly, is they have sent their details. Here we go, Philip and QWERTY123, Stratos password123, and to the hacker. Now, if you think about the scale that could be potentially done over millions of individuals, how many hits does a hacker need to be able to get into that particular account? And again, this is a very, very basic form of that particular attack, but ultimately, hopefully, it showcases to you just how easy it is to launch a phishing attack, and it showcases, and from my perspective, it showcases you the iLabs environment. So whether you're conducting sort of a remote access Trojan, whatever it is, whatever module or whatever attack vector that you're utilizing, it can be conducted through this safe environment. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint now. So hopefully that showcased to you a little bit more about the EC Council practical hands-on part, but we're going to come on now to a little bit more on our tracks, on the on sort of who's looking for cybersecurity professionals, and why EC Council's certifications can help you sort of transition into those cybersecurity roles. Oh yeah, sorry, just to quickly. So these are a couple of scams which I've pulled off. So because of COVID-19, I mentioned earlier that hackers don't discriminate. In times of hardship, they tend to thrive actually. And there's two examples here on the left, looking like it's from the UK government. Please click here to donate funds. And on the right again, would you want to be part of the here's a health emergency. Please pay Bitcoin for your donation, etc. I mean, all just try to take advantage of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the current pandemic. And I hope everyone on this call is fit and well. But the hackers are still, even in these times of crisis, trying to exploit us. So on to some of the EC Council tracks. So I mentioned earlier that ultimately we have there are a number of different cybersecurity job roles. There's a number of, and I think some of you are familiar with sort of the NIST framework in the US. It maps to 36 different job roles, and we map all of our certifications to it. And we have a 400-page document mapping our certifications, so it's a bit of extremely heavy bedtime reading. But I'll try and give you a little bit of an overview of sort of what we have. So we have a sort of a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing track, and ultimately this starts with network defense. We believe that similar to how in finance, what usually happens is you usually have an internal audit, and you within your finance team, you also then get your accounts externally audited. So it should be the same in cybersecurity. You should have individuals internally who are able to conduct the ethical hacking, who are able to do the blue teaming in terms of network defense, who can do the penetration testing, but also be able to have the external penetration testing as well. In terms of the progress through certifications, so I know a number of you, and I believe are sort of from that networking background. Looking at the network defender is the first step towards progressing into cybersecurity, or certainly through our tracks. So ultimately, I'm sure you have the ability to be able to set up a network, but can you set up a network securely? So we have included in that network defender course are those hands-on practical labs, so that you can sort of practice the functional skills to be able to set up those networks securely. And a little exercise that I like to do, and I'll do this with AKTINA and Stratos after this, and we have a list of disciplines which we can send out to you. So so basically it's a checklist of what is covered in the course. So and obviously your networking professionals, your goal is to set up networks, and I'm sure a number of you will think, oh, we can set it up securely. What we'll do is we'll send this list out to you afterwards. It's essentially just a sort of a little checkbox. You can run through the list. If you check all of the particular skills, oh, I can do this, I can do that, then ultimately you're probably ready to transition into the ethical hacking certification. If not, it's something that we could look into to have you start on the network defender course, and I believe Stratos does have dates that which I'll showcase at the end for both the network defense and ethical hacking courses. Now, once you've learned to secure your network or set up your network securely, we move on to the ethical hacking certification, where you learn the red teaming elements. So you learn the attack vectors that you need to be able to transition into becoming a penetration tester. Now, you notice there that we have the CEH and the CEH practical. So we talk about knowledge, we talk about skills, and we talk about the abilities. In the CEH, we test, or in the CEH ANSI exam, it's just that multiple choice theoretical exam. So that is your first step. The next step is the CEH practical. Now that you've got the knowledge, now that you've sat and passed your certified ethical hacker multiple choice exam, why not showcase that you have the practical skills to your employer? So and actually both the CEH and the CEH practical make up the CEH master, which showcases that you have both the theoretical and the knowledge, and also the skills and abilities in the form of the practical exam. So there is a progression through from our core in the Network Defender and Ethical Hacking certifications through to our advanced and expert penetration testing certifications. Now, if I were to use an analogy, so if we treat the certified ethical hacker as the nutty professor, this is a hacker who is able to do everything. You learn all of the attack vectors. What do you progress into next? So you would then progress into the ECSA, so our certified security analyst. Now, what's the difference between the CEH and the ECSA is that you go deeper into the attack vectors. You learn more in depth about those attacks, and then there is you encapsulate that in a methodology as well. So ultimately, you could be the best hacker in the world, but if you're not able to put down in a coherent structure, in a coherent industry understood or industry utilized methodologies, what you've discovered and the sort of the various vulnerabilities that you have managed to find, ultimately it's going to be pretty useless for the company that you're delivering that penetration testing test for. And then we sort of progress on to our advanced pen testing and license penetration testing master, which so there is a full track, and ultimately the idea is that you can progress through these various tracks throughout your career as you gain more experience, as you get more accustomed to utilizing the various tools that are out there to become certified to the highest level. Now, I'm conscious of the time, so I'm going to flick through some of the other, but ultimately we start with the core certifications, and then you can specialize into instant handling, forensics, threat intelligence, and again we have sort of network defense, software security, and this is probably a more, and those of you on the calls who are aspiring to become the most senior individuals, that take those CISO roles in the future. So we're in an extraordinary position globally where this board position of CISO has all of a sudden become so prominent, but where the likes of security has just gained such importance across the world. Now, this strange position, we have IT security professionals being thrust into the boardroom. Now, it's all well and good that this individual has a huge wealth of knowledge in security, but board level. But if you have a security professional talking in bits and bytes, and you have a board, but that's not what the board want to hear about. The board want to hear about revenues. They want to hear about costs. They want to hear about return on investments. And ultimately, the thing that sets our CISO certification apart is that strategic planning, finance, and vendor management. Now, it's those individuals who want to sort of transition into that sort of those more senior positions a little bit further down the line. But ultimately, we've got certifications which cover end users all the way through to C-level individuals. And so, what are the key features of EC Council courses? We're the first in the world. We're the most trusted. We founded the Ethical Hacking Program 15 years ago now, and have been progressing across all of the domains in cybersecurity, whether it be network defense, ethical hacking, pen testing. We have ultimately we've gone out to the market, and part of the reason we have with the most comprehensive courseware and program is that we have hundreds of industry experts who contribute to our courseware. We go out, we do our research, we quiz these industry experts on what they like to see in these particular roles. We work with job boards to ensure that we know exactly what their customers are looking for, and also we build out these programs. We have endorsements and recognition from ANSI, from the Department of Defense in the US. We have 4 certifications on that. We have 3 certifications which have been GCHQ certified in the UK, and we are completely vendor agnostic as well. And the final and probably the most important point is that all of our programs are 50 to 60% hands-on, so that you guys, even from home in this particular climate, can learn those hands-on skills and abilities to be able to sort of conduct phishing attacks, to be able to conduct a remote access Trojan to understand how hackers get into a particular system, so that you can understand how best to defend your networks. So who's looking for cybersecurity professionals now? It's in short, it's a very easy answer for me, because it is everyone across industry. So across every industry. So healthcare is probably the most hacked industry in the world, but ultimately every single industry is looking for cybersecurity professionals, and I'll come on to that in a little bit. And we know about the shortage. I believe there's currently the shortage of about 3 million cybersecurity professionals globally, and especially with the skills that you already have in the terms of the networking skills, you are in a prime position to be able to transition into the industry, and certainly have the skills and networking capability which cybersecurity professionals have certainly need a grounding in. And what comes with that? What comes in terms of that? What comes with that demand? That global demand is driving salaries through the roof. I mean, this is just a screenshot from a UK job website, but ultimately there are individuals. Cybersecurity is becoming more and more lucrative, and it's not unheard of that we have penetration testing contractors charging £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 a day, simply because of the skills and the skill set that they have, and again, more on the recognition that we have. In terms of the shortages of roles out there, across Europe, we're far lower down the list than they are in sort of our other Western cousins. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the figures for Cyprus, but generally across the world, we're seeing between sort of almost a 60 or 50 and 60% shortage of cybersecurity professionals, which is a huge shortage. And ultimately, if you look at the employment opportunities out there, and these are some of the screenshots from sort of a popular job website. These all include EC Council certifications. A lot of them are asking for network understanding as well. So if we see the Thames Valley Police in the UK looking for CCNA and MCSE, there may be a few of you on here who have those certifications. But ultimately, and looking at the wider scope of things outside of the UK, we across France, Spain, across the whole of Europe, and they're looking for certified cybersecurity professionals. Now, they need to have that knowledge. It shows that you have the knowledge. It shows that you have received training and have the skills and abilities that you've learned via the likes of our online labs. But ultimately, employers are looking globally for these particular professionals, and especially in times like this. I know that cybersecurity professionals are actually very worried that we've got a lot of the population, a lot of the workforce working from home currently. How do you know that their Wi-Fi routers have been secured? How do you know that what they're doing? They may be using home computers. They may be. There's obviously a number of security concerns which come. Which are flagged when you've got a population working from home. So in terms of employers looking for cybersecurity individuals, I think, this is maybe a gross assumption, but cybersecurity is probably one of the industries which is going to weather the storm better than others, because we could be in a position where there are more machines being compromised and more machines and individuals being compromised. But I hope that sort of has been useful. But in terms of the reasons to transition into cybersecurity, there's actually there's a number of articles if you Google them. So there's currently 0% unemployment in cybersecurity. Actually, I believe the thing they keep saying, the article or a number of articles saying that the unemployment rate is negative because there are so many roles out there for cybersecurity. Obviously, it's a very fast-growing industry, and there's a huge variety of roles. As I mentioned, there are individuals who are going down the more technical pen testing route, threat intelligence, SOC analysts, and across a wide variety of levels as well. And ultimately, if you're aspiring to be CISOs, if you're aspiring to be those pen testers and sort of command those top level roles, there is the prestige which comes with that, and we would like to help you transition into those cybersecurity roles. In terms of the training schedule, which is coming up, ultimately this isn't. I believe there's two. There's an ethical hacking course due for mid-May, and also a network defense due for July. I'm sure Stratos can come on that a little bit more as we when we get towards the Q&A. But if there is interest in any of the EC Council courses, whether it be the CISO, forensics, threat intelligence, and we'll make sure that with the recording of this webinar that a copy of our handbook goes out so that you can sort of have a look, and it should help guide you through and influence where you influence the particular, or help you choose which route or pathway you would like to take. But ultimately, Stratos and AKTINA are able to deliver all EC Council courses, and we want to sort of help facilitate and help you grow into your first or your next cybersecurity role. So yes, my name is Philip Blake. Please add me on LinkedIn. Please drop me an email if you need. But other than that, I will open the floor to questions. And Stratos, if there's, let me just quickly unmute you. And if there's anything you would like to say, please jump in.
Yes, Philip, can you hear me?
The questions. Yes, Stratos, can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. Thank you very much for giving us this very informative indeed presentation. I would like to thank you all for participating in this short webinar. Allow me to express my wishes in Greek because of our Easter Philip. Christos Anesti, χρόνια πολλά σε όλους. And I think being for 29 years in the local market, we have to admit that information security and cybersecurity is one of the neglected areas. And some companies learn this the hard way. We have many incidents of hacking, of attacks, and as a result, companies have to pay large amounts of money. And as Philip has pointed out, it's not just the financial side of the attacks, it's also the other aspects which are also very negative. As far as we are concerned, as AKTINA, we are the official training partners of EC Council in Cyprus, and we provide the full range of courses. I believe most of you are in the transitional stage of learning information security skills, and you are most probably interested in the two courses that Philip has mentioned. The first level course is the CND, Certified Network Defender. We plan to do that in July. Those of you who are interested in going directly to what is, I believe, the flagship of information security courses, the CH, Certified Ethical Hacker, we will provide this between 15th and 27th of May. Now, when we refer to courses, of course, we mean official courses. That is, you get the official material, the digital courseware, the official labs. Our instructor, I believe you all know him, Angelos Iliadis, is our cybersecurity guru, and he is certified by EC Council to provide these courses. If you progress in the track that Philip has shown you, you will probably look for a more advanced course like ECSA. We will provide that in mid-September. ECSA is the EC Council Certified Security Analyst. But of course, you will go to that one provided that you have passed the CH. We also provide the CH Practical as a result of the growing demand of CH holders to have a more practical feeling of the cybersecurity. This is an exam which you can try here in AKTINA. Remember that we have 2 training and testing centers in Nicosia as well as Limassol. Hopefully, by beginning of June, the coronavirus measures will be lifted. For the time being, we provide all our courses as live remote courses, online live courses, and when the measures are lifted, we will transition this to in-person courses. Again, thanks to Philip for this presentation, and I am here to answer any questions. Feel free to send me an email, stratos@aktina.com.cy, regarding anything that you are concerned with, courses and exams. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stratos. Just to answer a couple of questions here, there was one which was asking about do we have any sort of lower level courses than the likes of the CEH and our Certified Network Defender? Yes, we do. We have awareness, and well, we have three foundation courses, so we call them. We have our Certified Secure Computer User, an encryption specialist, and a security specialist, which we can send over details to. Will the official courses be offered in May, and will they be totally online? I presume they'll be online, Stratos, is that correct?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Excellent. So hopefully that offers you. And can I register through AKTINA for EC Council courses? Yes, you can. So if you want to, for registering of courses, please do reach out to Stratos directly and any of his team. And ultimately they can deal with any requests that you have. But other than that, I think that looks like we've answered all of the questions. One of the things that we can do, just to give you a little bit of a flavour for the online aspect of the practical aspect of the course. So for anyone who, if you reach out to Stratos, if you reach out to his team, we'll give you a demo lab so that you can have a play around with on sort of in your own time. So I'll have a look at some of the modules in our Certified Ethical Hacker course. But if you specify which course you're interested in and which and ultimately what we'll do is I'll work with Stratos to get you over the online lab so that you can have a quick play around on that before you make your decision. So please do reach out to Stratos, and we'll get you that practical, get the practical hands-on element so that you can have a quick look at it before you decide to sign up to the course. But by the looks of things, that's all the questions. So if there's anything else, please do email Stratos, email myself, or add us on LinkedIn. But thank you very much for listening, and yeah, have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care now. Bye-bye.